Okay, in this video, I'm going to cover how to do image classification using HuggingFace Autotrain. Now, before we get started, full disclosure, the new version of Autotrain sucks. I hate it. I previously recorded a video in one of my previous classes on how to use this tool, and I thought it was awesome. So from a UX perspective, I actually think go watch the other video and see what I think is good about it. But if you want to actually learn how to train something using HuggingFace Autotrain, this is the modern or new version as of February 11th, 2024. So as of that date and hopefully a couple months after, this should at least work for you. So first things, you do need a Hugging Face account. This will cost a little bit of money. I'm actually not sure about the entire actual price of this. I think it's maybe like $5 to $10, around there. So you will need to create an account. You'll need to attach a bank account or a credit card, that sort of thing. Once you've done that, you'll want to go to huggingface.co/autotrain, and you'll come here and click Create New Project. And now you're taken to this page it calls creating a space. And if you know anything about Hugging Face, you're like, a space is not the same as a training, but they use the spaces to do the auto training inside of it. Very confusing. Again, I don't know who rebuilt this system. Clearly didn't involve a UX designer, but so it goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this space a name. So we're going to call this test image classifier. And we'll come down here, we'll leave license as is, unless you know exactly what license you want to provide for this. And we'll use Docker and we'll use Autotrain. And then for the space hardware, again, you might be able to get away with the CPU. What I did is I actually switched it to NVIDIA T4 Small. Oh, and yeah, I guess here's the pricing. So 60 cents per hour. And this training, depending on the size of your data set, should really only take, I don't know, maybe less than an hour. So you're going to spend 60 cents to train one of these. So it's really not that bad. I've actually never tried the CPU training. I would imagine it works, but it's probably quite slow. So let's just go ahead and choose NVIDIA T4 Small. And we'll set this to sleep after 15 minutes of inactivity, so we're saving ourselves some time and money. And then last, we need to go in here and make a token. So what I'm going to show you how to do is how to make this token. So you'll come over here and you'll come up to your sort of avatar here and click on settings. And then you'll come down here to access tokens. And then you probably won't have any here. I'm just going to create a new one, say new token. And I'm going to call this test image classifier. And I'm going to set it to read and write, I think. So let's just set it to write, and we'll hit generate token. And then all the way here at the bottom, this will give me a token. And you don't want to hit show, or at least, I mean, you can hit show on your machine. I won't show it on mine because that will sort of invalidate the purpose of a security token. You'll just hit the little copy button here. And you'll come back to Autotrain, or sorry, this screen, and you'll paste this token in, and this is probably going to display it. So I will delete my token as soon as I finish this recording so no one else can use it. Paste that in, and you'll get your Hugging Face token. And then you can choose whether you want to set this to public or private. I don't really care. It's a demo, so I'll set it to public for me. And then we're going to go ahead and hit create space. I already created this space repo. Interesting. Maybe test. I don't know why I can't spell today. There we go. And now what this is building a space which will house our training system. And this will take, I don't know, maybe a minute or two to get running. There will be logs here. If you get an error message, you can send it to me. I haven't really come across any errors in the building of these systems, but I have come across errors when I actually go to training. Hopefully, we'll see if we could catch any of these, and we'll take a look at that. So while this builds, let me show you the data set that I've made. It's a pretty basic data set. For image classification, you don't really need that many images today. Again, these are sort of doing what we call fine-tuning or transfer learning, so it's building off an already existing classifier system. So because of that, we only need a small amount of data. So let me show you what I have here, which is our Mulder versus Scully data set. And what I've done is I've broken them into two folders, and this is really, really important. Your images must go in the category or label within the folder that you need it to be in. So for example, I've got a folder here called Scully, and inside of there are a number of images of Dana Scully from the X-Files. And you'll see they're different shapes, they're different sizes, they're different resolutions. Actually doesn't really necessarily matter, size, shape, whatever. I'm sure there's probably a minimum threshold for the image resolution, but probably be pretty hard today to meet those. So I actually, for a lot of these, just went to Google Images and just like screenshot Dana Scully's face. Sometimes I downloaded the images, just depending on resolution size, that sort of thing. And what I would say is good for these image sort of classifiers using faces is try to get a variety of different poses. So straight on, profile, 3/4 turn, that sort of thing. I've got I believe about 20 images per folder. So I've got a folder here of Dana Scully images and a folder here of Mulder images. And again, a lot of them are just screenshots that I took from Google Images. But again, you'll see there's a different set. You'll notice in some of these images, you've got a little bit of Dana Scully, but I try to make sure that in any of my images, I don't have both characters in the entire image. So a little bit of cropping here and there is probably fine, but you don't want both images. If you're going to do something similar with like dogs versus cats, make sure you don't include a image as both a dog and a cat in one of those folders. You could potentially create like a multi-labeled classifier system. This is just A or B, right? So it's one or the other. You could create many folders. So let's say we want to look at different types of dogs. You could have a folder of different types of dogs or different types of cats, that sort of thing. So you would just create multiple folders. The key here is you must have multiple folders, and in each folder must be all of your images. Lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to zip up these folders. Now, previously I'd gone and like zipped up this folder itself. That doesn't work. With this particular system, you have to be very particular about how it actually works. You must zip up these individual folders. So in a Mac, you just grab both folders and you hit compress. That's going to create this little archive for you, and then here you can just say Mulder Scully. Okay, cool. So let's see if our building here is done. Appears it's not yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. When this is finished, I'll come back and we'll begin the training setup. Okay, so we have our test setup here, and this is now the interface for training. Now this is supposed to be a no-code interface, and there's a lot of code looking stuff here. So again, not my favorite interface. I thought the old one was much better, but here we go. So if you're wondering how I actually found out how to process my data correctly, it's actually this little link here. So again, not the most user-friendly. If you click here, you'll go to the Autotrain features. It describes a little bit about how Autotrain works, and then you'll go to image classification over here for data formats. And it'll tell you you need to create a zip, and inside that zip need to be the folders with each of your labels. One thing I should note here is it said images must be a JPEG, JPG, or PNG. I know I uploaded a couple WebPs. Again, it would be nice if the system actually captured that and said, hey, you've got some issues here, or even better, actually did the transition or the translation or export for me to create the right files. Again, this is where a user experience designer would be a lot more helpful. So we can, again, go back to our system here. And now the key thing we really want to do here is change our project name. I have made this mistake many times. This is exactly where you want to make sure that you put in your project name, because actually this is the file you're going to want to look for your models after the case. So we're just going to go Mulder Scully 2024, because I previously have made this in the past. Local hardware, I think we can leave that as is, because that's sort of using spaces. And then task. Task is the important thing. So for this, we want to set the right training task we're gonna use. So for this, let's use image classification. And you'll see here we now have base models. These are the models we are going to transfer learn from. So in this case, we can choose from any number of them. I've generally had totally fine success with using the Google VIT base. There are other ones here you might get better results. Again, it would be kind of nice if they told us like which one they would recommend. I guess if you're doing some like food fine-tuning, you might want to fine-tune off the food one. There's a bunch here, but in general, I've had pretty good results by just using whatever the default is. So let's leave it as that. And now we need to upload our training file. So for this, we're going to click on this button. We're then going to come back here, and we're going to upload our zip folder. So make sure you upload the zip folder, not individual folders. There we go. And the last thing I want to do here, one thing I've learned, like just doing this a bunch of times, is that most of the training parameters are fine, but the one I find we definitely want to change is the epochs. This is how many iterations this training system runs, and I've generally found that like something like 10 or 20 is probably best. I'm just going to set it to 20. One of the nice things about this tool is that if you, what's called overfitting, if you like overtrain the model, it will actually not use that version. It'll use another version that is sort of your best example, without like, it sort of looks at some of the settings or some of the testing inside of the training setup, and it finds the best model based on what's called a loss score, which is basically how well it performed in sort of a testing environment. At this point, I think we're ready to go. You can read more about these parameters here. Oh, that's not right. If you want to read more about the training parameters, nope. Okay, see, not my favorite. Maybe we go here and see if there are training parameters. Nope, no training parameters. Great. So you can't really learn much about the training parameters. I know how it works. I know what some of these are. In general, you don't need to change most of these. You probably just want to change the epochs. Okay, let's go ahead and start training our model. So we'll go ahead and hit start training. And you say like, hey, you sure want to pay for this? And I'm say, yes, I'm sure. And now it runs for a little bit, and it says success, and you can check your training progress here. Not a link. Monitor your jobs locally in logs. I guess that's a link. Anyway, I would X out of this, and what I have generally found works is you just hit the logs button up here. And you'll see it's now running through our images and computing scores. Most of us don't know what these mean. I barely know what loss and learning rate sort of apply to. But this will run, I believe, for maybe, probably like 5 minutes, looking at how fast it's running through. It's already run through 8 epochs, and I set it to 20. So at this point, we're just going to wait for this to finish. When it finishes, it might not even really tell me it's finished. We'll see. So I'm going to pause the video for a second, and we'll just wait until it's back and ready to go. All right, and it's done. There was no success screen. The only way you can tell is that it finished, and it says 100% here, and then it says pausing space. Again, man, this is such a terrible interface. I can't believe they like moved to this from what they previously had. Anyway, I've already gotten a fight with their engineer via chat logs and other stuff. So I'm gonna leave it at that and just say not good, but it works. So we've now got our model here, but where do we go to find it? So the next step is to actually go find our model. It'd be nice if all this stuff was clearly laid out for you. We'll go to our account. And you probably have less spaces than I do, but if you scroll down to where you see models, you'll see here there is a model, and this is our model file. If we click on this, we'll see what our loss score is. This number should be very, very low. If you have something that's like 0.3 or 0.5, that's not great. You want something that's pretty low. Should be as close to 0 as possible, but also probably shouldn't be 0, because that means it's maybe overfit. Anyway, at this point, we can actually take this now and turn it into a space for us to use. So the way to do that is to come over here and go to deploy, and you can deploy to spaces. Go ahead and do this. Now this is very confusing again, because you now have a space for training and a space for inference, and it seems like it should just be one space. That'd be my preference. So we'll go ahead and create a new space. We'll call this inference, and we'll leave this as Gradio, and we can leave CPU here. For this particular task of classification, those generally run pretty quickly on CPUs these days. And then we can decide if we want to run it as public or private. I'm just going to leave it as public. Again, it's fine if people find this later and want to play with it. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and hit create space. And now it's going to build our space for us. And while this happens, I'm going to go and find a couple test images. You should never use the images that you used for training in testing, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like memorization. You shouldn't ask a question that, on a test that you'd already previously seen or something like that. So I'm just going to go in here and type in Dana Scully, and let's just go to images. And I don't think I used, let's just scroll down a little bit and grab an image that I probably haven't used before. It's crazy that it looks like there are actually AI images in these systems already. Let's let's grab one of these. I don't know that I used one that was actually more of an older image of this actress. So let's grab this. Let's go open image in new tab. And let's just take that. And let's grab one more of Fox Mulder. Can again use an older image of him. And then let's see, let's hope this is finished over here. It looks like it is. So now we can clear out of this space, and now we can upload our images directly to here. So I'm going to go ahead and just click upload, and let's go back to my desktop where those screenshots are. So let's start with this one, and let's see if we get Scully. And we do. And it's kind of interesting here. You'll see that the confidence score here is 84%. But Mulder is kind of peeking in here, so it probably is seeing that in the image in the classification system and saying, well, there is this image here, so maybe it is Mulder, in fact, after all. But because it's the main image here, it is saying Scully is this. Let's go ahead and clear this, and we'll try our other image. Go ahead and hit submit. And now we see with 99% confidence that it is Fox Mulder. So this works pretty well. I would say the actual steps, or like once you know what you're doing with this system with HuggingFace, is actually fairly quick and pretty, effective. The problem is if you had no idea what you're doing, this is a terrible UX experience. So again, if you are interested purely in just the UX experience, take a look at my other video that I'll link in the video description to see what the previous Autotrain feature was. And man, I love that thing. It was so good. It was so easy for me to show that to students who had never done image classification before, and they could get it. Unfortunately, we got this new system. Hopefully they continue to improve upon it and make it feel a little bit more like that other one. But yeah, this is image classification. We'll look at one other classification system in HuggingFace Autotrain. We'll look at how to do text classification as well. So I'll record that video next.